Good morning and Happy New Year. So it's officially January 1st where I'm at. So hope everybody's having a great new year, beginning of the year, and had a great last year, hopefully, and everything. Looking forward to a new year and whatever that may bring you. So I would like to just talk a little bit. I just wanted to put together something brief for context about aliens. And there's a lot of different there's speculation out there, but I found the actual truth, from having conversations with both people in the afterlife and with my spiritual guides too. Pretty interesting. So, and it's not too far off from what we think. So there's just all kinds of theories out there, but to kind of summarize it, we are absolutely not alone in the universe. So there is a lot of the universe is teeming with life. I mean, we know how massive it is, kind of. We haven't even realized that, how big it is, but considering how old it is, there are civilizations that are far much older and advanced scientifically, intellectually, and not just about life in the physical universe, but there's some videos out there that speak to, their knowledge and art. Now that we're getting out into outer space more and more, this necessity for us not to bring warfare and division into outer space and to try to understand, there's a certain level of enlightenment intellectually that exists in outer space among many civilized planets. Luckily, we're near the vicinity of some good ones. Otherwise, we probably would have been visited by now in a bad manner of speaking. So they have these really evolved philosophies and ideas on not just life, but existence and what happens after we die and that sort of thing. We're clearly still trying to figure that out down on Earth, here on Earth. And, that's, and I've always thought, and I've said this before too, but I've always found it interesting that, that's the one thing we're all going to face. Why don't we just pull together and try to understand death somehow? Study the mind more, study physicality versus what's non-physical, and start testing and give more attention and credence and value to communication and study and that sort of thing, evolution of, what happens after we die and the ability to prove that sort of thing. So that's one thing that still divides us here on Earth. And it's possible. It's just something that we haven't reached here. So another thing, so we're still getting there. But what I found, one thing I found fascinating is the level of secrecy and the reasons behind it. So like you can find videos online from Obama and Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, and they're asked about, aliens, and they never give a straight answer. They do verify the existence, at least Clinton and Obama have verified the existence of UFOs, but said we don't know what they are, which is a lie. And I forget what George W. Bush said, but he's much more tight-lipped about it. He said he does not agree about sharing this sort of information if he had it, whereas Bill Clinton said he's more open about it. So the truth is, and this is one of the most fascinating things I found, is that these beings, as old and as ancient as they are, have been observing us for a really long time and communicating with us. So just as, we're coming across new species in nature and that sort of thing and kind of observe and study, they've been doing it they've been around far, far longer before Earth conscious life occurred here. There's structures on the moon and on Mars that observe not just Earth, but, life around us, which is one reason why it's good to know that, if they weren't observing or if they weren't communicating with us, it'd clearly be for negative purposes. And the information that you see in a lot of videos out there, as far as the truthful ones, when they do communicate with us, they tell us you have yet to reach a certain level of enlightenment or knowledge about, existence and peace and cooperation. And that's kind of what exists out here to a very evolved degree. We're just brand new. I mean, think about it. as long as humans have been around, space travel, cars, cell phones, it's like a couple hundred years. So we're just getting started technologically, let alone intellectually, spiritually, however you'd like to put it. So every single U.S. president, and remember, they've been observing us like we observe, animals in the wild. So they know our language and how to communicate with us, and they've been doing so for a long time. There's ancient paintings, pictures, hieroglyphs, depictions, written, visual about, these sorts of things, visitations and spaceships in the sky, but they're very hands-off, very non-interference. So not to interfere in our own individual or group evolutionary path. So that's why they don't come out and show themselves. That's why we're not told about these things so overtly or directly. But this information is being generally made known to the public little by little. But all at once is considered a bad idea for reasons of panic and that sort of thing. Which kind of brings me to my next point. Well, actually, kind of to circle back to what I wanted to say a couple minutes ago. The level of secrecy I find is pretty amazing, and that's the reason why. Everything they've been communicating with us. Every single U.S. president has been informed, told, briefed, even communicated. There's not a single one, from what I've been told, that has not communicated with or met an alien in person. I've got to confirm this, like with Queen Elizabeth II herself, too, has also been briefed about this sort of thing and even met a being from another planet in person. This is very real. This sort of information, again, is kept secret at the highest levels of government. They've been communicating with us for quite some time, waiting for us, especially more and more as we make our way into outer space, and to explain to us their intentions. We knew what was on the moon before we went there, these bases and structures, that sort of thing. They've been telling us about, they've been giving us information. Another good reason to, understand that there's some trust there in good nature and goodwill, because, again, as advanced as they are, if they wanted to, do something to us a long time ago, they would have. So that's good, and that's good to know. But one thing I found kind of ironic is, for all our differences here on Earth, and how much war and division and separation and that sort of thing that we continue to have to this day, how many people, and this is with all major world governments over the past couple hundred years, with this sort of information, the one thing that people in power at the highest levels of government, with every major power, not just the United States, are being communicated with. That goes for some of our adversaries like China or Russia or the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany back in World War II. As we develop more and more ability to start to launch satellites and our technology increases here, they've increased their communication with us. Not a single, there have been a lot of people individually from governments that have decided to try and share this information, little by little or just outright. Of course, the government doesn't confirm it or anything like that. Even our own astronauts were threatened with violence, or death, or their loved ones if they share anything they witnessed on the moon while they were up there. So, which is kind of sad and unfortunate, but that's the level they go to try to keep this sort of information internally secret. And at a world level, it's so ironic that even though we can't get along, the one thing that all these governments are doing is keeping this sort of knowledge from us for the betterment of humanity, which is, I don't know. It kind of makes sense on one hand, but, not on the other. We're still going to have our own belief systems and kind of move forward with what we are doing down here. And on the other hand, of course, no one wants to be that one person or that one government or that one organization who ushered in a global era of mass panic and confusion and fear and chaos and that sort of thing by saying, look, aliens are real, UFOs are real, we've known it for a long time, that sort of thing. It's just we're not there mentally, emotionally, intellectually, that sort of thing quite yet to handle, which makes sense. Technology is new. We disagree on what happens when we die, if anything at all, like that sort of thing. So, such a massive, I guess, bit of information would kind of shake global consciousness, to its core. So I could see that being a fair argument, but on the other hand, it always makes me wonder, what if it's the opposite? What if that's what we need to come together even more and just realize, what? This is a lot of this stuff is trivial. Of course, a lot of it is not so trivial. What we argue about, divide ourselves along the lines of that sort of thing. We could still live with each other on Earth with our differences, but realize, what? Let's pull together for each other's sake as we start to explore life in this universe, because it's just clear at this point there is, with all the UFO sightings and even the Pentagon confirming UFO sightings, they're gradually starting to acknowledge this sort of thing. And to what degree in our lifetimes or our kids' lifetimes, that sort of thing, will this be made known, especially with commercial tourism and space flight, with like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Richard Branson. As more and more people see this with their own two eyes. We have cell phones now. We can capture UFO sightings on our own. So it's just a matter of time before we are made, this information is made known to us, So, but I just found this so interesting. And so all this stuff is real, aliens, peaceful. They've been communicating with us. More people know about it than you think. And to what degree is just amazing. Even there's a video about a gray alien from Area 51 that it showed them kind of shining a flashlight in his eyes and everything like that. And people were wondering, is this a hoax? It was smuggled out by someone in Area 51. Apparently it's a real video, but there's a lot of speculation behind what it is. It was a spacecraft that was downed. It came down and there was a couple of occupants in it. And it wasn't something that we captured and interrogated or questioned, that sort of thing. We were quite aware of these UFOs and the race of beings in the video before it happened. So what that video was us trying to save, actually, this being from another planet, and try to keep it alive and rush it to a secret facility where meetings and communication takes place. In this case, Area 51. And the body was eventually returned to the people from that planet, and so was the spacecraft and its remnants as well, believe it or not. So we didn't find this stuff and then keep it, and it's under our control and nobody else knows about it. Quite the opposite. We knew who they were before they crashed and that sort of thing. It's just like a courtesy we would extend to an ally down here. A plane that was downed, a body, we tried to save it, and then we would return the body and the material. Except one small thing, we did keep some of the UFO space remnants in the crash, apparently, to study. No physical samples, nothing like that was taken from the actual being that died in our care before we returned it. But we did return their spacecraft, but not all of it. So I thought that to be really interesting, because for the longest time I was like, man, is that real? And if so, did we keep it in a jar? Did we study it? Quite the opposite. We returned it to its people, the body, and spacecraft, except a little bit of material we kept to study it for ourselves. So, which we lied to them about, apparently, from what I understand. Oh yeah, this is everything. At least overall we're fairly forthcoming, but it's the whole point here is government's not very forthcoming with us about this information. So I'm not surprised they would be, with the race of beings from another planet. So anyways, I just wanted to share that, and I talked a little bit more than I wanted to, but it's just fascinating information for me, and I just wanted kind of to take all the information that's out there and put a thread of truth through there and kind of dispel what's speculation and confirm what's true from these conversations and channeling sessions that I had. So most of it is true information, but That's kind of the actual truth, to kind of put it all together, from what I understand. Hope you found it interesting. I sure have. I think it's amazing stuff. It's just one of those questions that, I mean, we find ourselves alive and aware at a certain point. Where does this come from? Are we alone in the universe? What happens when we die? These are some of the big questions. And it's, on one hand, it's frustrating to know that people know this information and they just think we're not ready to handle it. And even our own astronauts and scientists and things like that are kept quiet until, it's deemed necessary to kind of roll this information out slowly. On one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, it's kind of frustrating that we would deal with it like this. But it does make sense. So, well, again, I hope you found this fascinating, and as much as I did anyways. And any dialogue or questions you have in the comment section, that'd be great. And if you liked the video, definitely hit a thumbs up, and subscribing would be great too. I really love doing this sort of thing, and putting out these videos and sharing. Any questions or ideas too that you have too, just let me know, and I'd love to be able to discuss it, or that sort of thing. Again, Happy New Year, and I hope everyone's doing well, and have a great upcoming year. I do mean it. So thank you again for watching.